Hello class, it's Megan Jones again here with another part of your first tutorial. Today we'll actually be working on a flyer and we're starting on page 28 and 29 in this tutorial. Okay, so the first step is to actually go into your data files and open up an existing document. Okay, so we have the author.doc file, and that's found again if you go into data files, you click on Word 1, and then we're working our tutorial. So we'll want to open up author.docx, and that's our first step. So we'll go ahead and open this, and you should have a lovely picture of a parrot here for your amusement, I'm sure. So let's go ahead and get started. First things first, let's go ahead and save. It's always a good practice to do that. So we'll be saving this document as author flyer. And again, always good to kind of keep it in the same place, that way you know where to find your documents. Okay, so now that we've saved, let's take a look at the document. And we can pretty much see it, but on page 29, to review the document, it's suggesting maybe you'd like to put the document in a better view. And that can be done by going to your View tab at the top and actually maybe fitting the document on one page. Now when you click one page, obviously you're going to see the document in one page. So that's what we're looking for. Okay, and since it's a flyer, it's especially helpful because we're actually doing a little bit of designing here. Okay, so let's go ahead and flip over to page 30 and 31, changing page orientation. Page orientation and margins can often be found in the page layout tab. First thing, let's go ahead and click orientation. Remember, portraits up and down, landscapes across. So let's click on landscape, and you'll see that the landscape, flipped over to the document. Next order of business, margins we need to change to narrow. So we're trying to maximize some page space there. Alright, so let's go ahead and change the view again, and I'll show you how that one page works. So we'll click one page, and you'll see that it gets a bit bigger, but again, it's showing you what's on the page altogether. Okay, so next step, changing the font and font size. It wants us to make sure that the pointer, the blinking cursor, is at the beginning of the document. It asks to press the key combination Control Home, and that makes sure your cursor goes to the beginning of a document. Conversely, if you press Control and then the End key, you'll see that the pointer moved down here to the end of the document. So let's press Control Home. And we should be right before An Evening with Georgia Vassallo. So let's go ahead and select all the paragraphs. So we're going to hold the Shift key and then click right of the fourth paragraph marker. So you can, hold Shift and click down here, or you can click and drag. Not too picky about how you select it. Alright, 32 and 33. Let's go ahead and change the fonts. Okay, the fonts can be found in Home, and you have your Calibri here. And please note that it's the body font, and Cambria is the headings font. Each theme that you come across in Word will have different heading and body fonts, so whenever an assignment asks you to change something to the body font or the headings font, it's talking about these theme fonts at the top, just as an FYI. Okay, so we're in Calibri. If we click Cambria, we can see how that changes, but eventually the exercise wants you to actually click on Times New Roman, so you can see how that changed. It now wants us to change the size, which can be located right beside of it. It's an 11. You can change it to 22 that way, or you can click the Increase Text button until it gets to 22. Typically it'll increase by 2 at a time there if you do that. Alright, good deal. So applying text effects, fonts, and color styles. Let's see here. So in the font group, we want to select the first line, and it may refer to it as the first paragraph. This book likes to think in paragraphs, so remember that whenever it says paragraph, it is probably referring to a line. So kind of watch that, because especially if you're working without this paragraph marker on. If you read paragraph, you may select the whole thing inadvertently and not mean to. So always kind of look at that paragraph marker. So it wants us to select the first line. And we want to go to our fonts and select Arial Bold. Now a good hint here would actually be to start typing it. Arial Black, not Arial Bold, my bad. So, black. There we go. So now we found Arial Black, and now it wants us to change the font size again. I like to use the click down menu, that way I can select it a bit faster. Finally, text effects, this fuzzy A right here. If you drop it down, it'll actually show you some options, and as you hover your mouse over each one, it kind of gives you that preview. Okay, let's turn to 34 and 35. Okay, so it wants us to select this black one here. So let's go ahead and click on him. Alright. So now Andrew wants to draw attention to the book title. So let's go ahead and select Tropical Times, an Introduction to Wildlife in Tropical Climates. And he actually wants us to prefer a simple dark blue, and that's on step 2 on 35. I always think that's kind of funny because we got to do Andrew once, right? So let's go ahead and click down on our font color here, and it wants us to do a simple dark blue. Now you may look at this and be like, well, there's like a whole bunch of dark blues, which one do you want me to pick? Whenever it mentions like a standard color, it's probably going to be under standard colors. So if you hover over it, it should say dark blue, and that's what it's talking about. Later on in your lessons, it may ask you to do like a certain percentage, and it'll normally tell you what that is in the book, so keep that in mind. Alright, so it wants us to italicize it. It's as simple as clicking the italicize button. And now we'll actually be applying this style, you know, the actual formatting, the dark blue and the italics, to the Spruce Tree Books line using the Format Painter. So let's flip on to 56 or 36 and 37. Whoops, hit the wrong button there. Alright, so we've got it selected. Remember, when you're using Format Painter, you want to select what you want to copy first, always. So, and then we'll click Format Painter. And once we've clicked Format Painter, the button should turn orange, and if you hover your mouse over the document, you should see a little paintbrush with it. So let's go ahead and highlight Spruce Tree Books. And you can see that it matches the same style as the Tropical Times. Alright. Good deal. So now, we want to go to the head of our document and press Control A, which will select everything in the document. And now it's talking about alignment. On page 37 in figure 127, you'll see left alignment, right alignment, center alignment, and justified alignment. Those alignments can be found under your paragraph group right here. So right now, by default, everything is normally left aligned. So let's go ahead and switch it to center. Now, everything should go center. If for some reason your parrot does not, you can click on it and make sure it goes center. If that still doesn't work, you can drag it to that spot. And you can also check and see what position it happens to be in. You definitely want it in line with text if for some reason it changed, which I doubt. Alright, so let's flip on to 38 and 39. We're chugging right along. And let's go ahead and add a border to the 4 paragraphs there. The border button is found also in the paragraph group, and if you drop down that menu, you should say outside border. And that's what we want. We want a border around all the text. And remember to select the text before you do it, because otherwise it might not work. Alright, so let's select everything again, and now we're going to do a background color. So, if we flip on to 40 and 41, you'll actually start to see the little paint bucket up here. It's right beside the border, and you can drop it down, and we need to select light green. And again, that's under standard colors. Okay, so we've got colors here, and I think we're actually done with the text at this point, so now we can start focusing on the image. So if we want to insert a new image, there are a couple ways we can do that. First of all, we need to say bye-bye to Polly the Parrot here, so you can just click on it and press the delete key on your keyboard. Again, that's above your arrow keys, so delete. Goodbye, Polly. Alright, so inserting in a photo. If you still have your text files open, or not your text files, your data files, you'll see that it wants you to actually insert a frog. That's fine because you can actually use insert to insert an image, but with pictures, you can actually just like click on it and drag it over here, and it should appear. Conversely, let's say that we actually wanted to go through Word and do it. We can go to Insert, Picture, and then find where the file is. However, again, we are kind of, you know, we have to dig through all those files to find it. So a good way would actually be to copy the file path. So if you've already got the folder open, you just click on the top like I just did, copy the file path, go back to your Insert Pictures dialog box, click on it, and then paste, and then hit enter. So it should take us right to that folder, and we'll click on frog, and then insert. And we have a frog in our document. Alright, so page 42 and 43, we're finishing up here pretty quick. Let's go ahead and resize our frog, and you can typically do that by using the handles. I'd recommend actually grabbing a corner and doing it because it's going to resize the horizontal and vertical parts of the picture at the same time. If you try to do it like widthwise, you'll end up having a squished frog, so we don't want that. Alright, so that is making a flyer, and this finishes up tutorial 1.